As predicted by myself, and I'm sure many others, the Kansas City Chiefs did go on indeed to have a really nice bounce back recovery season in 2013, going from having the worst record in the league and the number one overall pick in 2012 to being a playoff team winning double digit games. And that's impressive no matter how much you splice it, no matter how much you spin it. Andy Reid came in and did, frankly, what Andy Reid does. He is a quality NFL head coach. There's no question about it. He has a history over the years during his time in Philadelphia of getting more out of his teams than, frankly, he should. And that's what he did here with the Chiefs in 2013. Now, this was a team that had a good talent infrastructure in place. So they weren't the worst 2-14 team you've ever seen. But somebody still had to get those pieces to fit together, and he still had to sit there and get them to do something, and he did. Now, part of what worked in the Chiefs' favor was just how soft their schedule was the first 9 weeks of the year. I mean, they were Cupcake City, and all you have to do is beat the teams that you scheduled to play, and that's what the Chiefs did. In their first 9 games, they go 9-0. They're one of the talks of the league. But then reality's kind of set in just a little bit. This last 5 games, 7 games of the schedule, excuse me, got a little bit tougher. So the Chiefs kind of limped home a little bit. And frankly, they pissed away a huge lead in the wild card round against the Colts. They should have beaten the Colts. And frankly, they should have dismantled the Colts. And ironically enough, that was not due really to Alex Smith in any way, shape, or form. That was due to a defense that was getting shelled more and more as the season went along. And frankly, due to some poor questionable coaching decisions by Andy Reid, which was also a trademark of his in big time moments and big time games back during his time with Philadelphia. So the Chiefs heading into 2014, there's expectations, I guess, that this team is going to improve, that this team will be in the mix again. But I don't know if I necessarily see it that way. You look at this team, they're not all the way there. And they really didn't make any significant moves this offseason. And maybe, to be fair, they weren't in a position where they really could. Well, your most notable acquisitions were both in the draft. You had Dee Ford in the first round at a position where you've already got Tamba Lee and Justin Houston in place, so how much is he going to play right away? And then maybe DeAnthony Thomas could serve your fourth-round pick out of Oregon as an upgrade to the departed Dexter McCluster. Perhaps, but that was about it. I mean, they lost several pieces off of that offensive line, both starters and quality reserves, guys like Asamoah and Brandon Albert and Jeff Schwartz. You talk about a team that lost Tyson Jackson, a former third overall pick off of their defensive line. And while he wasn't great, he was a solid run stopper in that 3-4 scheme in 2013. Just some key pieces lost to me for a Chiefs team that couldn't really afford to do so. Now, heading into 2014, some of the things I really like about this team. Andy Reid. This is a guy with a history, again, of getting more out of his teams than he should. He has a history of getting the most out of the talent that is assembled for him on a year-in, year-out basis. So anytime you have Andy Reid, you have to feel pretty good about your chances more often than not of at least, if nothing else, having a winning season, if not actually making the playoffs. I also like the running back core, primarily Jamaal Charles, but I look at a guy like Knile Davis. He showed me something when given limited opportunities last season that if a Jamaal Charles goes down with injury, or if you just need to spell Jamaal Charles, a talented physical specimen like a Knile Davis could come in and do some damage as well. They have a nice tandem of running backs there in Kansas City. I really like their linebacking core. Obviously, Derek Johnson on the inside, and then Houston and Hali on the outside, and then you throw in a first-round pick like Dee Ford into the mix. That's a big strength of that defense, and when you're running the 3-4, your linebacking core needs to be studly. They need to be able to get after it. They need to be athletic, and the Chiefs definitely have that. They also have some question marks, too. You look at their offensive line. You lose Brandon Albert. You lose Asamoah. You lost Schwartz. 2 starters, a quality reserve, if you will. Now, not only did you lose those guys, but you're flipping Eric Fisher, who was a mediocre right tackle in 2013, over to the left side in 2014. Questions abound to me with that offensive line. You look at their wide receiving core. So many people naively, and I emphasize again, naively believed that the Kansas City Chiefs were going to address wide receiver and or tight end very early in the 2014 NFL Draft. Apparently, they thought they knew Andy Reid's draft history better than me or other people with brains. There was no way in the hell that was going to happen. And to me, that's completely ridiculous. You're running into next season, this 2014, with a Dwayne Bowe who's average at best. Who else you got? Guys like Junior Hemingway and maybe Donnie Avery. That's not a wide receiving core to write home about to any damn buddy. Maybe third round pick from last year, Travis Kelce, actually stays healthy and he provides a more athletic upgrade to an Anthony Fasano. You look at the wide receivers and the tight ends. You just gave Alex Smith, for some reason that I still can't understand, a big money contract, a big long extension, and you're not giving him any help to work with. You're giving him mediocre at best weapons in the passing game. I just don't get Andy Reid in this area. And you might say, well, John Dorsey's technically the general manager. No, Andy Reid runs the show. Don't get it twisted. And I don't understand how Andy Reid hasn't learned from his previous mistakes in Philadelphia because, by God, he's fucking repeating them again in Kansas City. Now, looking ahead to the 2014 schedule, just like the other teams in the AFC West, they've got the AFC East, so it means they have to play New England. They've got the NFC West, so they've got to play Seattle, San Francisco, Arizona, and St. Louis. Whoopee for them. And then they've got to play Tennessee and Pittsburgh in terms of their other AFC conference games. You look at the schedule, similar to the Raiders. This is a bit of a brutal schedule. You got to play Denver twice. You got to play San Diego twice. You got to play New England. You got to play all of the NFC West. There's a lot of things that sit there and point to the Chiefs not having nearly the same success that they had in 2013. Now, I've made this mistake before of undervaluing and underrating Andy Reid's teams before a season, but I feel relatively confident that the Chiefs are going to take a step back in 2014. I think as the season went along in 2013, especially the last 7 games or so, the defense started to show that they weren't as talented as they were playing during the first half of the season when they were playing, frankly, some real cupcakes. I think this wide receiving and tight end group is mediocre, to say the very least, and probably worse than that, which could lead to more pressure on Alex Smith and the running game and lead to Alex Smith having to force more throws and not having the ability to do what he should be able to do in Andy Reid's offense. I have questions about him all over the place on offense. You look at their offensive line, you look at the schedule that they play, and I do think the Chiefs are due for a big step back in 2014. I think this is a team that'll be lucky to win 7 games. I actually think they'll go 6-10 and finish 3rd in the AFC West. 2012 was a disaster. 2013 was a nice bounce back year. But I think 2014 will be more of the real litmus test and will show you more of a true representation of who the Kansas City Chiefs are as a team and as an organization at this point in time. 6-10, 3rd place in the division. I think that sounds just about right to me.